Welcome back to Eat Sleep Boxing Repeats YouTube channel. It's time for another boxing betting tips show. Delighted to be joined by Greg this week. We've sent Paul away for a well-deserved break. Greg, thank you for joining me. Looking for some more sensible betting tips this weekend rather than the usual rubbish we have from Paul. How are you? Thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me, Eliot. I'm doing great. Glad Paul's getting his well-earned break, but yeah, looking forward to get down to business and talking this weekend's boxing.
Yeah, good stuff. As we all know, is just the one kind of show that's really going on this week. It's at the Coffee Box Arena in London. It's on BT Sports, a Frank Warren Queensbury Promotion show. Lots of titles on the line. Hopefully, some competitive fights. As always, this isn't a scripted show. I don't know what you're going to say to me. You could come and say to me that Shiraz is going to get knocked out in the first round, or Nick Bull's going to knock someone out in the 10th round. I don't know, but I'll put the floor to you now. What is the first betting tip that you're sharing with us this weekend?
Yeah, thanks very much, Eliot. Well, the one that I'm going to share with you, I'm going to go for what I would say is my weakest tip of the weekend, because the odds aren't great on it. But what I think a lot of the viewers need to take into consideration is if a fighter is not even an overwhelming favourite, you're looking at somebody being 1 to 10 to win alone. So you really need to be clever with what you do. So this is my weakest one. The other two, I think the viewers will appreciate. But the first one I'm going for is for Ryan Garcia to win in rounds 7 to 12 or points against Javier Fortuna. Javier Fortuna has only been stopped once, Eliot, and that was in 2016 by Jason Souza, who was going through a bit of an Indian summer in his career. He was beating a lot of decent kids before he came unstuck. Maybe Javier Fortuna was against a really big lightweight at the time. I know that Ryan Garcia has the height, but as he filled out to lightweight, he's been inactive. So I can see that going beyond 6 rounds. I do see Ryan Garcia maybe been a little bit too clever, been too smart, but I think that victory for him will either come in rounds 7 to 12 or points, and that's 8 to 13.
Good stuff. So, Ryan Garcia, yeah, big puncher in the division. He's knocked out plenty of guys in his career so far. Javier Fortuna, yeah, been around for a long time. Just gonna have a look. He's had a lot of fights, and yeah, it's an interesting one here. What do you think of the fight generally, mate? I think Garcia, I know he had some time out of the ring. I think he had some mental health problems. I think he's had a fight a couple of months ago, and he's back in the ring. How competitive do you expect this fight to be?
I think it's going to be a sticky fight for him, Eliot, because Javier Fortuna is very capable. I think he's lost 3 in his career, been stopped once. I think it was only Jason Souza that stopped him, but his last two wins there, they were against much lesser opposition given. But he stopped both of them. He's still very capable. And, if Ryan Garcia has been away from the ring with something like mental health problems, I mean, you look at his last fight with Tago, that went the distance and it was almost a shutout. It's common sense to compare Javier Fortuna and Tago, and Javier Fortuna is much more talented, much more proven at world level. So I don't think Ryan Garcia is going to be in the rhythm yet, Eliot, of going in, blasting someone out early and moving on. I can see it being stretched a little bit, which is why I went for round 7 onwards. But I think it will be a good competitive fight, that Garcia will just be a little bit too big and too long in the fight.
Good stuff. And yeah, we'll see if King Rai comes through on Saturday, what happens next. All right, nice one. We will move swiftly on. What is your second tip this weekend, Greg?
So my second tip for the weekend, it was actually a fight that you mentioned at the beginning there, is Hamza Shiraz. I fancy him to win in rounds 1 to 5, and that's 9 to 4. If you look at Shiraz, he stops quite a few fighters early. Yes, he had that one almost, would you say, blip to Bradley Skeet before he found the answers, but this guy that he's fighting, this Argentinian, he fought Jose Benavidez Jr. in his last fight. Now, he went in the distance. See, if you look at that, Eliot, wow, that looks fantastic. See, a fight or 2 fights ago, Jose Benavidez Jr. was fighting Terence Crawford at 147 and ended up at 160. He's not going to go up to 160 and blast guys out like they're nobodies, especially a tough Argentinian. But Shiraz is a big guy. He's thin, but you can tell he's got like that skinny muscle mass that some fighters have got. I'm not comparing him to Tommy Hearns, but that's an example. someone can be built like that, but they still punch very hard. He stopped 11 of 15, Shiraz. So I just think if he comes out, starts fast early, I think he can get this guy out in rounds 1 to 5. I mean, Jess Smith is a tough cookie, and he stopped Jess Smith in 2 rounds in his last fight. So 9 to 4 on rounds 1 to 5. I'm having some of that.
Yeah, good stuff. Rounds 1 to 5, odds of 9 to 4. No, I like the sound of that as well. I think that's something that might be my accumulator this weekend. I think another kind of interesting factor is that you mentioned Shiraz's physique there and his build. When I saw him at a press conference for his last fight, I was a bit taken aback by how tall he was. I think he's 6'2", 6'3". He's a tall guy. He's a tall young man. And the Torres, the guy he's fighting, has actually spent a lot of his career at super welterweight in the weight below. And what I'm interested in is A, what they look like at the weigh-in, and B, what they look like in the ring. And I just think that at the ring there could be a difference in size there going along. And as well as that, I do think Hamza Shiraz is a world prospect. Personally, I'm not going to say he's going to be the next best thing or he's this or that, but I think we will see him at world level in his career. If you consider he's 23 years old, 15 fights in, and he's as good as he is now, we'll see. What I'm interested to get your thoughts on Shiraz as well. If I said to you in 2 to 3 years' time, Shiraz will be top 10, top 15 in his division, would you agree with that or not?
Yeah, no, I think he's very, very capable. I think I'm going to touch point on something you said there. That's my problem with prediction videos. You just said it in a nutshell. We see these guys trying to make the weight. How do they look on the scales? How are they? What size are they in the ring? Hamza Shiraz, I don't see any reason like why he's not European champion inside the next 2 years on the door for a world title. He's still a bit of a kid, is he not? Is he not still mid-20s or so? He's still quite young.
Yeah, 23. Yeah. So,
23.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anyone else, but I didn't have my man strength at 23, and he's already back these guys away. What do you like at 27? If his career is manoeuvred in the correct way, gets the correct step ups at the right time. So I don't think that's out of the question at all.
Yeah, good stuff. I think that's, despite there being a British and Commonwealth title fight on Saturday, I think this is being billed as like the co-main event. So that says something about how high Queensberry rate him as well. Good stuff. We'll move on. What is your third betting tip of the weekend, Greg? So
this one, I'm putting my neck a little bit on the line with this one, Eliot, because I can already hear a few people going, "What? Really?" My third betting tip of the weekend is for Mark Heffron to upset Lennox Clark and win the British and Commonwealth titles. And at the moment, that is priced at 11 to 4.
Okay.
Now, I can understand where a lot of people have come from, but let's have a look at Mark Heffron and let's be fair. He was stopped in round 10 by Liam Williams quite a few years ago. Liam Williams went on world level. He had, I think it was a draw the first time with Denzel Bentley, which was a really good fight. The second fight, it was very close, but he had to be pulled out because his eye basically shut. It's not as if he took a really terrible beating and, he wasn't in the fight. If you go and watch Lennox Clark versus Willie Hutchinson like I did today, Hutchinson was hurting him badly in round 2, rocking his head up with uppercuts and hooks. And, Lennox Clark just old manned Willie Hutchinson. He just had that experience. He fought better fighters. He weathered the storm and came through it. Mark Heffron comes all night and he punches like a mule. So I just think this is a real 50-50 fight. But, I just think Mark Heffron might be looking at this as his last big chance to do something on the domestic scene. And I've seen vulnerabilities with Lennox Clark, and that's why I've came to that conclusion.
No, good stuff. I think, it's looking forward to it. I think it's maybe some people are finding it tough to give a prediction for this one. Obviously, Lennox Clark is the champion. It was I think it was a pretty major upset when he beat Willie Hutchinson last year. Remember, it was a pretty emphatic stoppage. And Mark Heffron, as you've broken down the key fights of his career there, he's not done. He's got nothing to be ashamed of. He's done well, and So yeah, just as always, you just want to see a good fight. But my gonna just ask you to elaborate on that main event. If you had to say whether you think if you think Mark Heffron's going to win, do you think it's going to be by stoppage or on points? If you consider Mark Heffron's a big puncher, however, Lennox Clark he's only lost one fight that was on points. How do you think Mark Heffron wins?
If Mark Heffron's going to win, you've got to think it's going to be by stoppage at some point. Since the Bentley defeat, he's come back and stopped two guys inside three or four rounds. Now, the guys that he's beat are nothing to go on, with all due respect, but one of the guys had 20 losses and only had 19 losses and only 2 stoppage defeats. Mark Heffron stopped him, so you need to have a look at that. It's difficult to say, like, because I think Heffron might be very physically strong. I know Clark is physically strong, but it could be an old-fashioned British 12-rounder where two guys go toe-to-toe and it's a split decision win for someone. But it would not surprise me if Mark Heffron hurt him and get him out of there at some point.
Good stuff. Well, yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing what any betting tips you've got. Please put them in the comments. Always interested to hear what people are doing. But I think that's all from us this week, Greg. Ryan Garcia vs Javier Fortuna. Hamza Shiraz returns against Francisco Torres. And then, as we just discussed, Mark Heffron, Lennox Clark for the British and Commonwealth super middleweight titles. As always, thank you for joining me. Appreciate your betting tips. And we will speak again soon.
Thanks, Eliot. Take care.